All right. Well, it's good to see everybody. I think we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about, how do you like my background? I'm in a real classroom. We're going to talk about the laws of Eruv Shabbos. It's quite interesting. I will take a break from Kitzer for a moment. Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, and we'll talk a little bit about this. These are my notes. So I apologize if they look, it's not like a nice screen to look at. It just is what it be.
These notes are great, Rabbi. Don't worry.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah. Okay, so guys, Dinei Kavod Shabbos. So there's a lot of laws when it comes to Shabbos, as you probably know. And there are laws not just when Shabbos begins, but there's laws when right before Shabbos begins. In fact, laws that even begin Thursday night. But we'll start with this. Does anybody know, is Shabbos a feminine day or a masculine day? Everything in Torah has a feminine side and a masculine side, or it's exclusively feminine, exclusively masculine. What would you say Shabbos is? Is it a feminine or masculine or both?
It's feminine.
Feminine. Why do you say that?
Because Shabbos is looked at from Zohar as like a special Shehina and a bride. So that's why we, sing the Lechadodi, the Kama bride. So
yeah, that's true.
Agree.
Okay. Anybody disagree? So the answer is both. Shabbos is unique. Shabbos, you're absolutely right, Chana, like it says Boy Kala. Let's come greet the Shabbos bride. The Baal Shem Tov, Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, would Friday, right before Shabbos, right in the commencement of Shabbos, he would go out in the field and he would scream out loud, "Come, my bride, come, let's go greet Shabbos." I think the Arizal did the same thing. The Arizal would go into the field and say, "Come, my bride, Shabbos." So we do have, and it says Boy Kala, which is feminine, but we also have things that it says, Ach Shabsaisai Tishmeru Ki Ois Hu. It says that we say in the davening that Hashem on Shabbos davening, that Shabbos is a sign, Ois Hu is masculine, that it is a sign, it's a bris, a covenant with God. So we see both. So when is it masculine, when is it feminine? So interestingly enough, the Arizal explains that at first Shabbos is feminine. That's why Friday night, everything is the Shabbos bride, the Shabbos queen, Boy Kala, because it's receiving from whatever we did during the week. It says, Sheishis Yamim Tasoid Malacha, 6 days you shall work, and on the 7th, you'll be able to rest. So on the 7th, you'll be able to rest. However hard, how much effort you put in during the week, that's how much menucha, how much serenity you'll have on Shabbos. Shabbos receives from the week, and it says a feminine is a receiver, a masculine, a male is a giver. So Friday night, that's how it is. However, on Shabbos day, when you read, I'm speaking too loud. On Shabbos day, it gets a little louder. Sorry, I'm in the library, and I guess, but I'm in a group study. You should be able to talk loud. I just got a knock on the door. On Shabbos day, it says that it's a oishu, that it's a sign of a covenant. That what happens is it begins to turn. All the energy that we had on Friday night, that we brought into Friday night, gets, so to speak, ready to gets ready to be given back to you, and it brings kedusha into the week itself. It says in the Gemara that a man gives. What does he give? He brings home the wheat, and the wife turns it into bread, so that you'll be able, or the woman turns it into bread. That we see this reflected in a woman when she's pregnant, the gestation period, right? She actually makes the baby. The baby is actually created within the wife. The same concept. And then it carries out a next stage, so to speak. So on Shabbos day, it changes. And that's going to play itself out in different customs that we do on Friday night and Shabbos day. On Friday night, we'll see in a second. Let me just go do over here. I'm not used to doing it like this, but you guys can get used to doing it. Okay, so it explains over here that on Shabbos, how much do you have to spend on Shabbos? And we're going to get back to all these ideas. You have to have that idea in your mind because later on we're going to bring it up and it's going to express itself in different things that we do on Shabbos. How much do you have to spend on Shabbos? So the Gemara says those who spend on Shabbos, on Rosh Hashanah, everything is determined how much you're going to make and how much you're going to spend and everything like that. So let's say you're expected to make $1 million this year. On Rosh Hashanah, it's decreed to get $1 million. Now, first of all, it's put in escrow, as we've spoken about many times, and you have the ability to tap into it and draw it down. Some of it might stay up there. Also, how much you're going to spend, how much you'll need to spend on the year is determined, except for what you spend on education and what you spend on Shabbos and Yom Tov. On Shabbos and Yom Tov, what happens now, the Rebbe explains what that might even mean. What that means is, maybe you do have a bunch of unexpected expenses that you have to pay, but it won't be in the form of either the bill will be a lot less than it should have been. It's like all these little cop-outs. Either the bill will be a lot less than it should have been, or it's only referring to medical bills, like you won't have to pay any medical bills for the year. Or really what it is your money will be spent on desirable things that actually last forever. So normally you might come to become a spendthrift. You might have a mindset to be like a spendthrift, and you spend things on garbage, on junk. You eat out in restaurants all the time. As pleasurable as they are, they don't last. They're not a last. The proof that it's not a thing of great content, substantive, is that the joy dissipates right away, basically. Another hour after you eat, it's enjoyable, but you'll only spend money on those things that last, that invest in the future. So it might not be that you'll spend less money, but you'll spend money in the right places. That's one of the ways the Rebbe explains it. So when it comes to Shabbos, though, it says you should spend, those who spend more on Shabbos, you'll get more money back and you'll have more pleasure on Shabbos. Now, you don't have to, the Gemara asks, the Halakha asks a question, should we borrow money to spend on Shabbos? And the answer is no. Should not borrow money to spend on Shabbos. There are certain things you must have on Shabbos. There are certain things you must have on Shabbos, but
Question, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt your thought. So on borrowing, does the credit card, charging on the credit card apply to the same concept? You should not charge on the credit card because it's kind of like borrowing from bank concept. Right. I wonder, does it really count once you pay it back? Like, is it only going to kick in once you actually pay off the credit card or pay off that bill? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, look, you put I'm trying to think if there are any stories. You definitely put the burden on yourself, right? The burden, that burden of giving up money, it hurts. Yeah.
Like it could hurt to like pay with cash or pay with your debit card. Also, when you have a credit card, there's a burden. You're carrying the burden. So this is my own thing. I don't know. The answer is I would assume yes. Sure. I would assume my normal answer would be absolutely. Okay. What's my point? Chabad's all over and shuls all over the world accept credit cards. So
all right then.
Yeah. So the question is like, what if you file for what if one files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and they don't have to pay anything back? Okay, that's maybe that's a little bit different. Okay, now on Shabbos, women have the custom, married women, it's a custom to light 2 candles. Why do you light 2 candles on Shabbos? As opposed to a single woman lights 1, which is a novelty from the Rebbe, by the way. The Rebbe was the one that instituted women light 1 candles. I haven't seen it, but I assume that most women who are not married don't light any candles. Am I wrong? I haven't.
What? Really?
Not a single woman? Is that true? I have no idea.
I'm single, but I was taught even listening to Rav Zilperberg's halacha on Shabbos. I light 2 for Zohar and Shomer.
Okay. Oh, even now you light 2? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, interesting. And you say a bracha on them?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I just don't know. Usually, because you say the bracha if you have a mitzvah to do it, and I didn't know Okay, well, listen, okay, so let's give some clarity on that. That
But
could
you
be.
say
So-
Rebbe, I want to just clarify. So the Rebbe instituted that single women do not have to light candles. It's only married, you're
No,
saying?
halachically, and even I think from a mitzvah, if there's somebody that's already lighting candles in your house, so a woman who, a girl, let's say, who lives with her parents, she cannot necessarily light candles. Well, what's the point of? Okay, so let's just talk about it for a second. The Rebbe
Yeah.
instituted that girls should light one candle. Before that, single girls did not light candles. And so let's explain. What's the point for lighting candles? So we light two because of Zachor and Shamor. It says in the Torah, Zachor is a Shabbos, Shamor is a Shabbos. Zachor means to remember, to do the positive acts of Shabbos. Shamor, you should guard from doing anything wrong. You should guard the Shabbos, which means you should, stay away from those mitzvahs, those things that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. So Zachor includes praying on Shabbos, the karbanot that we bring on Shabbos, the lighting of candles on Shabbos. And then Shamor is like, you cannot do the 39 malachot. That's Zachor and Shomer. So we have a custom to light two candles to remember Zachor and Shomer. It's not a halacha. The halacha on Shabbos of lighting candles is for two reasons. One is for pleasure of Shabbos, called oneg Shabbos. You have to have oneg, pleasure on Shabbos. That's what it says in the Torah. And you have to have kavod. You have to show honor to the Shabbos. So what is the one way that you have a pleasure on Shabbos? By having light. Says you have to have light in the house. Now, does that mean that is that on each individual person has to light a candle, or does the home have to be lit? There has to be light in the house, so that wouldn't cause any shalom bias issues. Because one of the most pleasurable things to have in life is when the home is peaceful, when your environment is peaceful. That's called pleasure in Torah. That's one of the things that's called pleasurable, peace. So you have to have light. Now, question comes up. Nowadays we have lights, incandescent lights, LED lights. Does that serve the purpose of pleasure of Shabbos? And therefore, if it brings light, am I still allowed to make a bracha on the light, on the candle, if there's already light in the house? It's a big question. I know the answer, but it was a question that came up to Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Have you guys ever heard of him? He passed away 30 years ago. He was the big posek. He was the big halachic authority that lived in Jerusalem, in Yerushalayim. And he's like the modern day, you had Ramosha Feinstein, and then you have Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who they argue with each other. They're related, both incredible leaders of the Jewish people, wonderful, nice people, great people. And he talks about this. So let me ask you a question. If I have lights in my house, why is it okay for me to light candles and say a bracha over the candles if I already have lights on in my house? Does anybody know? Sorry if I'm talking quietly. It's because I'm in a library.
Is it because it's it's like, there's other mitzvahs that for whatever reason, because like advancements in technology or just the time, like it doesn't really apply anymore, but you still do it because you're not going to repeal a mitzvah, like a rabbinic, because they're rabbinic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why, like, you're not going to repeal a rabbinic mitzvah just because the times change. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think of like kitniot, for example. It's like, nowadays, like the standards of grains and stuff are a little bit more like, when you get beans, it's beans, and when you get rice, it's rice.
Right.
But what you still keep it because it's minhag avotenu beyadenu. Like you don't repeal that.
Okay, so let me ask my question a little bit stronger. So how can I say a blessing on it though? How can I make a blessing? I use Hashem's name. In that case, that makes sense. But am I
But I've been oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Is it because it's specific for Shabbos? So therefore we're doing the mitzvah of lighting that specific candle for Shabbos. So we say a bracha over it.
So because it's okay. What do you mean? Can you explain that more?
Okay, so our lights, we use it for every day. So we're used to using things just for Shabbos, dedicated done for Shabbos. Like we have Shabbos coat, we have Shabbos plates. There's different things that we use for Shabbos, and those candles are specifically for Shabbos.
Okay, very good.
I have another stronger point.
Yeah.
Because women have to accept upon herself the Shabbos, starting point. So the minute she lights candles and say the bracha, specifically the bracha over it, that's it. From that point on, she accepted Shabbos. She cannot do anything else, which is forbidden on Shabbos.
Okay.
But also, I have seen households where the mother exempts everyone. She's the one who lights all the candles and exempts everyone else from saying the bracha. She says it for everyone. But I also have been to Lubavitcher's home where every single girl above 3-year-old, they light their own candles with the mother. And
Right.
they're all saying and accepting the Shabbos with the bracha.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
So, okay, so all three of you
I
have,
have a thought too. Can I have a thought?
yes.
Okay, so when you put on an electric light, there's the implication you're going to eventually be extinguishing that. And you don't want to necessarily extinguish something that you've lit for the purpose of the mitzvah. So with I suppose with a Shabbos candle where you let it burn out completely.
Very good. Very nice. Okay, you all brought up points that are all going to be brought up. Excellent. So some of you, everybody's a little bit correct in some way. So the answer is like this. Number one, there's something besides Onig Shabbos, for the pleasure of Shabbos, you have the honor of Shabbos. And so candles was something, this is kind of what Ari was saying, a little bit what Moshe was saying. It brings honor to Shabbos. It was something that is always honorable to Shabbos. You light candles as a show of honor and respect for Shabbos. Now, in terms of what if you don't have candles? This is going to be, what if you don't have candles? Can I make a bracha on my light switch? And the answer is yes, you could. You can use an electric. It's actually a big machlokus. It's a big disagreement. But Moshe Feinstein says you cannot do that. You cannot light the candle. You cannot turn on the light switch, cover your eyes, and say the blessing. However, most other authorities say you can. And in fact, if a woman who gave birth and she's in a hospital, and where you're not allowed to light, or if you're in a hotel room where you're not allowed to light candles in your room, the best thing to do is to flip on a light switch. And you can say a blessing over Shabbos, or if you're Chabad, Shabbos Kodesh. We add the word Shabbos Kodesh. So other authorities say there's actually a madlik ner. There's a different blessing, you should say. Nobody actually does that. And in fact, I think in practice, nobody actually says the blessing. However, this is what you should do. You should turn on lights and say that right before you turn on the light and say, I'm doing this for the sake of Shabbos. And who specifically should do this, actually, in a home is the man. Because the man really hasn't, the women are connected. Candles are women's mitzvah. Why is it a women's mitzvah? For two reasons. Number one, because it says that Chava was the one, Eve was the one that she brought darkness to the world. Okay, for those of you, I'm not going to apologize, but I'm just saying, if you understand Chassidus, she had a much brilliant understanding. She did it on purpose, right? Everything else. But anyway, she brought darkness to the world. And so the women rectify that by bringing light back in. And another reason is because the woman is connected with the home. In general, a woman is connected with environment. She creates an environment wherever she goes. It's very important. And therefore, the home is connected with her. And therefore, she tries to bring light into the home because the lighting of candles has to be done, it's connected with the home and bringing on light into the home. So where does the man fit in over here? So there's two things a man could do to fulfill his obligation of bringing light on Shabbos. Number one, which is what I do, he sets up the candles for the family. So I clean out I don't do a good job, but I clean out the candlesticks, whatever, and then I put the candles in. So it's masakin. I set it up. I set everything up. And another thing I do, at least I try to do, is I go to a room and I flip the switches off and flip the switch on. And I say, this is for the sake of Shabbos. I don't make a blessing. Which if the issue of having a candle, what's the whole point of having a candle is to bring peace into the home. You need light so people don't stumble over each other. Really, any room you're going to be in needs to have light, correct? And that's true. That is true. That really any room that you're going to possibly use should have a light on. Unless it's going to cause you pain. So I don't want a light on in my bedroom because I want to go to sleep, or any of my kids' bedrooms. So we don't put it on in there, but really every room should have a light on. What did I want to say? There's something I wanted to say on that. Okay. So let me ask you a question. So now if Chana brought up a point over here that you see the mother lights candles in a room. Is another woman allowed to go into that room and light more candles there? The obvious answer is yes, but it's not so simple because all the light is already present. The candles are already present in that room. So you have the pleasure, Oneg Shabbos is taken care of, and the honor of Shabbos in that room is already there. How can I go ahead and say another blessing in that room? How can I bring more candles and say a blessing in that room? I've already fulfilled the obligation. And the answer is you can have Tosefes Or, which is some additional light, which is a novel concept. It seems novel. You're allowed to do it. You're allowed to bring more light into a room because it brings more pleasure for Shabbos. If you just learn regular halacha, you might think you're not allowed to. Once a candle is lit in a room or multiple candles are lit in a room by the woman who runs the house, you can't light more candles, but you can because there's something called Tosefes Or. Tosefes Or, additional light, by the way, is very interesting because there are certain things which maybe we'll learn at some point, the laws of what you can and cannot say to a non-Jew on Shabbos. But you're not allowed, there are certain things a non-Jew can do for you on Shabbos, right? A lot of things mainly they can't do for you on Shabbos. But one of the things that non-Jew, you even if you hint, you want to do this whole hinting thing, which is true. I mean, I shouldn't play, I'm not trying to like degrade it. If you want to do a hint, so you can't just have a non-Jew come into your house and turn on a light, and especially if it's just done for you. However, when it comes to Tosefes Or, if there's already light in the room and you can hint to it and you want more light, you can go ahead and ask a non-Jew to add more light into the room because it's like a dichotomy. On the one hand, he's not introducing anything new, but yet he is making something greater for you. There is a benefit and there isn't a benefit at the same time. So I don't know. I'm just bringing that up parenthetically because I don't know why. I feel like doing that. Another thing, okay, that's what I want to talk about, candles. Anybody have any questions on that? Or any comments? So there's something goes with pleasure and there's with honor. And
so Zohar Shomer, if I'm single and I'm doing Zohar Shomer every Shabbos, it's still fine. I'm honoring Shabbos with
Okay, very good. Very good. Yes. Okay. So if it's not going to be anybody else, you can light as many candles as you want. That's the truth. You can light as many candles as you want. And so therefore, yes, you're probably doing the right thing because you don't have any roommates, right? There's no roommates in your room.
No.
Right.
No.
So the obligation to bring light into the room, fall into your home, falls on you.
Right.
Just to bring another example, even a male, if I'm not with a woman, if I'm not with my wife or my mother or whatever it is, who lights the candles if I'm home alone or if I'm home without my kids? I have to, and I say the bracha. I have to say the blessing. In yeshiva, where there's no women, they pick a bacher to be the one that lights candles for the entire yeshiva, which I did one year. I have to say, with no honor. I did that. If I go to a hotel by myself, I should light a candle. So this happens twice already. My wife and I, she's had a kid. We've had a kid. She's had the baby. She gave the baby. We're in a hotel for Shabbos. I mean, we're in the hospital for Shabbos. We bring electric. So there's two things I could do. I can either just flip the light switch on in the room for Shabbos, say this is for the sake of Shabbos. But Rav Moshe Feinstein says what you should do is you should bring a battery-operated candle. A battery-operated candle. In fact, in a lot of Chabad houses that are near hospitals, they give care packages. I grew up in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, there's some major hospitals over there. So we get a lot of Jewish people from all over the world, very famous, come to our town very often, whatever, they need an operation, whatever, they're there for Shabbos. So we would bring Shabbos packages for them. And one of the things that would be included in the Shabbos package, which I never really thought of, it would be battery operated candles, right? They're not they're not fire candles, but they're battery operated candles. And the reason is, Rav Moshe Feinstein says it shouldn't be a lamp. I mean, I guess Bella, this is kind of like what you're talking about a little bit. it shouldn't be a lamp that you can actually plug into. This will take care of maybe the issue a little bit. It shouldn't be a lamp that you plug into a wall. Why? Because you have the power grid could shut off at any moment. Like you could lose power, and it can't, like, so to speak, last the whole Shabbos, or maybe like whatever. I guess it doesn't really burn out, but it should be like a separate. It should be its own self-sustaining source. It's interesting. Just an interesting point in halacha. Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, he had to grapple with what is electricity. He was the posek when electricity was really becoming something very popular. So he had to understand what electricity is, and is it fire? So is it fire? Is electricity considered fire? And the answer is, well, it depends. LED lights are considered less like fire than like a halogen or incandescent light, because there's two main things when it comes to fire. Fire has heat and it has light. An LED only has light without any heat. And so therefore, actually, getting a non-Jew to light an LED light for you on Shabbos is less problematic than an incandescent or maybe halogen. I don't know what halogen is, but an incandescent light which has heat. However, when it comes to lighting candles on Shabbos, because you're supposed to have candles, like a candle which has heat and it has light, it's actually better to have a candle that has heat to it than it is an LED light. But nevertheless, if all you have is an LED light, you can go ahead and use it. If you guys want to know what like learning halacha is, like when you get smicha and stuff like that, this is what it is. And you learn a bunch of different opinions. And you have to learn about what your opinion is. You have to learn the Sephardi opinion, Ashkenazi opinion, and multiple Ashkenazi and Sephardi opinions. So just this is what my notes are. Okay, I think we're gonna have to stop here. Does anybody have any questions? That was just a little something on lights. We'll talk about challah next time. Exactly what challah is about and why do you need challah and why is it connected with women?
Great, because I got a new bread maker, so I want to know more.
Can you send your notes, Yitzhak Kaplan? No, I cannot. I'm sorry. I guess I could. Not a problem. Okay, so that was about lights. Okay, and then we're going to learn about Bein HaShmashos, what you can and cannot do in twilight. What is twilight? What did you accept Shabbos early? Can I get a Jewish person who didn't accept Shabbos yet? Oh, I want to explain. Chana, you said something. There are some women, when they light candles, they accept Shabbos. Well, yes, 99% of the time that's true, unless they make a tanai, unless they make a condition that I'm not accepting Shabbos in yet. However, there's something called Tosefes Shabbos. We start Shabbos early. The Alter Rebbe says you have to start Shabbos about 2 minutes early than when really Shabbos comes in. That's why you'll see, like, if you see what time sunset is, and then it says, if you go to these like websites, it's called Zmanim. Zmanim means times, halachic times. Some websites, you'll see what time sunset is. If you look, you'll see sunset, it says 8:28. It'll say Shabbos begins officially, completely at 8:26 or 8:24. Well, what do you mean? Sunset it's not until 8:28. That's because there's a halachic obligation to start Shabbos in at least 2 minutes, if not 4 minutes early. Now, women accept it upon themselves to accept Shabbos 18 minutes early so that you're not running into any issues, because to get a house in order right before Shabbos, especially if you're having guests and whatever, it's like a super hectic time. So they want to make sure that you don't run too close to comfort. However, you can still make a condition that I'm not accepting Shabbos yet. In Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, they made a condition. All the women start Shabbos 40 minutes earlier. You light candles 40 minutes before sunset. But what did I want to say? Oh, so anyway, you can make a condition that you don't accept Shabbos. When does the husband accept Shabbos? The husband can accept Shabbos either 18 minutes before, which is preferable, like the wife. If not, he starts 2 minutes before. Can you do work for her after she accepted Shabbos? That's something that we'll discuss next week. Yeah, if she already accepted Shabbos, can I do something for her? It's not so simple. Okay.
I thought we accept Shabbat when we say Mekadesh Shabbat.
Well, that's during davening, during prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're going to start that a lot earlier, because when you light candles, when candle lighting is at sunset, Shkia, you go to daven mincha.
Yeah.
Mariv, or Kabbalat Shabbat doesn't happen for another probably 30 minutes, 35 minutes, but it's already going to be Shabbos.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so if you keep Shabbos in early, then, so when do we accept Shabbos? Either, we'll talk about that. The Alter Rebbe has a different opinion than Rav Moshe Feinstein, and the Ramah has a different opinion. We'll talk about exactly when does a person take on Shabbos. Let's say they take in Shabbos early, after Plaga Mincha, which we'll talk about. Especially nowadays, people with Shabbos davening, people do, prayer service 6:30 p.m. Really, sunset is not until whatever 8:30 or 8:30 p.m. or 8 o'clock p.m. So talking about how can we accept Shabbos in early, and if you accept Shabbos in early, when is it that you're accepting Shabbos? When does Shabbos begin for you? We'll talk about that. Yeah, Moshe.
Two things. Are you going to cover the 7th hour?
Yes.
Like, okay. Yeah.
About making Kiddush in the 7th hour? I'll talk about it.
Kiddush, yeah. That's so you take it from the midday, the time of the midday. And you can't say Kiddush until after that time.
Yeah, well, the 7th hour. Yeah, we'll talk about exactly making Kiddush on the 7th hour. The 7th hour from the day. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I mean, it's not much to talk about. I don't the whole deeper meaning behind it. I'm not going to get into because I don't really know it. It has to do with astrology, but yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, the North Star or something.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The North Stars, I think it is. And
no, Madad.
The...
Madad. It has to do with the red planet. Mars is
the red planet and the spiritual meaning of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk.
Okay.
It is. I do have that in my notes. Yeah, we will talk about that. Yes. And white wine, red wine, by the way, it doesn't matter. It has to do with making Kiddush. Now, a lot of people don't hold by it. They don't care. But the Rebbe is very strict about it. And we'll talk about it. Why? To not make Kiddush in the 7th hour. Okay, everybody, let's stop here. I apologize for all the delays and everything like that. Crazy day. For all good things. Okay, I'll see you.
All good things. Kol Tov. Thank you, Rabbi.
I'll speak to you guys later.
Good lecture.
Bye.
Thanks,
Rabbi.
Yeah, no problem. See you guys.